Hey, welcome. You know that feeling, right? That little voice that tells us to improve, to just present a better version of ourselves to the world. We kind of polish the edges, we make adjustments, we tweak things here and there. But what if the real problem isn't about fixing the outside, but about a total change on the inside? Today, we're jumping into this really powerful idea from a devotional on Psalm 51. The huge difference between trying to build a better mask for ourselves and asking for a brand new, clean heart.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of it with the big question for this whole explainer. Are you spending all your energy on the superficial stuff, managing how things look, tweaking a few habits, or are you looking for something way deeper, something truly radical? This is the tension we're going to pull apart today.
And this quote just nails it. The devotional points out this one crucial line from Psalm 51. The writer, David, he's not asking God to just rearrange the broken pieces. He uses the word create. And that's the same word used in Genesis when God brings the entire universe into being from nothing. So this isn't a request for a quick makeover. This is a plea for an actual divine miracle. So that kind of begs the question, right? Why is our first instinct always to just fix the mask? Let's dig into what the source material calls the fix-yourself fallacy, this really common trap we all seem to fall into.
You know what I love about this is how clear it makes everything. It lays out two completely opposite messages. On one side, you've got the constant pressure from the world, right? Get it together, clean up your act, fix yourself before you show up. But then the devotional points to this totally different invitation from Jesus. Don't wait till you're fixed. Just bring yourself, the whole mess.
And this is what the source calls an upside-down blessing, because it just flips our whole value system. Being poor in spirit, like we read in the Beatitudes, isn't about celebrating weakness just for the sake of it. Nope. It's about being honest. It's that moment you finally stop pretending you can pay your own spiritual debt, and you're finally ready to ask for help. Which brings us to a much deeper diagnosis. So if the problem isn't just a few bad habits that we need to fix, then what is it? The source material suggests we're not just dealing with a mistake here and there, but with a fundamental sickness. So here's the crucial idea. The way Psalm 51 talks about sin isn't like it's some isolated incident or, just a simple mistake like having a bad day. It's presented as this pervasive, deep-seated condition, a sickness. And a sickness doesn't just need better behavior. It needs a cure. This image and the verse really drive that point home. See, the Bible, in places like Romans chapter 3, talks about this as a universal human condition. It's not about you being uniquely broken. It's about recognizing we're all in the same boat. And that's not meant to make us despair. It's meant to establish the common ground where the solution can begin. So after diagnosing the sickness, we get to pivot to the cure presented in the sources. And it's not a self-help program. It's something that can really only be described as a divine miracle. And we're right back to that powerful word, create. I mean, think about it. We can try to rearrange our habits. We can do that. But to manufacture a new heart from nothing, the devotional is crystal clear. That is an act of creation. And only God does creation. That's the miracle being asked for. So how does a miracle like this even work? Well, the theological term for it is atonement. And just like the slide says, this is God himself taking action, removing the barrier of sin that causes all the separation. It's not about us trying to build a bridge back to God. It's about God clearing the entire path for us through the sacrifice of his son. I love this. The theologian Martin Luther had this incredible way of describing it. He called it the joyous exchange. It just makes this huge abstract concept feel so tangible. The idea is that on the cross, this massive trade happens. Christ takes on all of our sin, our sickness, our brokenness, and in exchange, he gives us his righteousness, his wholeness, his perfect relationship with God. And this is just perfectly captured here. The devotional uses this exact imagery. He offers you his righteousness like clothing you didn't sew. It's a gift. You don't earn it, you don't make it, you just receive it. This divine miracle isn't about making us strong enough to fix ourselves. It's about clothing us in something we could never, ever create on our own. All right, so all of this is amazing theology, but what does it actually look like to live this out? That brings us to our final section, how to embrace this upside-down blessing in our day-to-day lives. The practical application for all of this is something called repentance, but we really need to get this right. The Greek word for it, metanoia, means way more than just feeling sorry.
As our sources define it, it's a radical change of direction. It's actively turning away from the sin that messes us up and turning toward God to get the pardon He offers. It's a hopeful move.
And the devotional boils this all down into two just beautiful, practical steps. It's not some vague, gloomy feeling of self-hatred. It is specific. First, you name one sin with total honesty, no excuses, no spin. Then, and this part is key, you stubbornly name one of God's promises that speaks right to that sin. You basically counter the reality of your failure with the bigger reality of God's grace.
And just look at what this does. This isn't a downward spiral into shame. It's a launch pad into hope. It's the ultimate admission of, Lord, I can't do this, so I need you to do what only you can do. And this is exactly how, according to the source, our mourning over our own brokenness gets transformed into comfort. It's how our greatest weakness becomes the very entry point for God's grace to come rushing in.
And that brings us full circle. This entire process, admitting the sickness, asking for a miracle, practicing honest repentance, that's what it means to be poor in spirit. It's showing up to God empty-handed. And Jesus says that this is the very definition of blessed, because it's only the empty-handed who have room to receive the kingdom of heaven.
So we'll end on this thought. We're all trained to think that blessing comes from achieving more, performing better, climbing higher. But what if this whole upside-down blessing thing is true? Then grace doesn't meet us at the top of the ladder. It meets us at the very bottom. So the question to think about is this. What area of failure or weakness in your own life, the thing you've been trying so hard to hide or fix, might actually be the doorway for you to receive this incredible grace? Thanks so much for watching.